To separate football from an art form would be an unforgivable sin. It would be an injustice to those geniuses who see the ebb and flow of a football match as mere brushstrokes on the path to a masterpiece. Supporters as mere spectators on the journey to a higher plane of existence. Today, we bring you the story of a once-in-a-generation football genius, a once-in-a-lifetime football icon. This is the story of GUNNERSAURUS. GUNNERSAURUS has entered the fabric of our society and embedded himself in our day-to-day lives so well that it feels almost normal to have a green 7-foot-tall Tyrannosaurus Rex as our footballing equivalent of Buddha. But let me remind you that this is not normal. No, the Tyrannosaurus Rex is supposed to be 40 feet tall. So, how did such a tiny dinosaur come to be such a hero to so many? Well, let's bring you back to the Mesozoic era, the age of the dinosaurs, roughly 28 years ago when Jurassic Park came out. Now, as Jeff Goldblum was stalking around an island off the coast of Costa Rica, an 11-year-old Arsenal fan named Peter Lovell was creating a monster.
Arsenal very, very cleverly, I think, and very bravely hosted a competition to design their mascot.
This is Peter, no longer 11 years of age. You can call him Father Saurus.
My passions at the time were Arsenal Football Club, Jurassic Park, and which was the big hit of that kind of that movie cycle summer. And all I could think about was dinosaurs and football. So I sat down at the kitchen table, and it just happened. It was one of those, honestly, like kind of eureka type moments that I can still vividly remember.
Down on paper went a portly yellow reptile wearing an Arsenal kit. The world was about to become introduced to GUNNERSAURUS Rex.
That my mum and dad saw it and were like, that's brilliant. Hey, let's get the paper and put it down, and then I started writing out kind of the weird dimensions, because I was always such a kind of almost OCD kind of engineering type person. I wanted to deconstruct and construct stuff. So that's where, when I read it now, I think to myself, oh my God, I can kind of remember talking about the tail balancing with the belly and all this kind of stuff.
Little did Father Saurus know, but the tail would indeed balance with the belly. And Arsenal decided it was the mascot for them, and GUNNERSAURUS Rex became GUNNERSAURUS. But the 90s were a tough time to be an up-and-coming T-Rex. Dinosaurs were now cool. Theropods were in. In such a crowded market, you could be forgiven for asking, how on earth did GUNNERSAURUS manage to break through? Well, it turned out that the market did not matter. GUNNERSAURUS was simply better than all the other dinosaurs. Take his great foe, Rex, from Toy Story. He suffered terribly from the most awful of T-Rex afflictions, short arms. GUNNERSAURUS, though being a genetic freak, did not suffer from these issues. His long limbs allowed him to become proficient in hugging, a prerequisite for any promising dinosaurial cheerleader. Another of his rivals around this time was Barney, but as the 90s became the 2000s, the world woke up to the fact that while GUNNERSAURUS looked genuine and caring, Barney the dinosaur looked like a massive creep. And so started a glorious reign with GUNNERSAURUS as the world's #1 dinosaur and #1 mascot. You don't need to be an Arsenal fan to recognise how his absolutely massive head saved the club in key moments. How he stood for silence better than a mascot has ever done. And how he wrote himself into the annals of Arsenal history when he absolutely smashed Robin Hood in a penalty shootout to send him packing up the road to Nottingham. But most impressively, throughout this period of unbridled success, GUNNERSAURUS never forgot his roots.
When I got married a few years ago, it was arranged without me knowing that Gunner would turn up at my wedding, which was just an unbelievable kind of moment, a big unveil. It's like, what's going on here? And there was GUNNERSAURUS Rex with, a signed thank you letter from Arsene Wenger and stuff from the players, and it was, it totally just dominated the wedding. It's probably why we're not together anymore, because I think from the wedding it was like, oh my God. What was amazing about that moment was that was the moment that I met Jerry, and so that the gentleman, that we're not supposed to say, any kids listening, that was inside the dinosaur.
It was at this point that we had to cut Father Saurus off. Now, Rumours have dogged GUNNERSAURUS for the majority of his 27 years of existence. Rumours about there being, well, a man inside GUNNERSAURUS. These rumours have constantly been dispelled, and Arsenal have come out to clarify that GUNNERSAURUS was indeed hatched from an egg and has grown up from his beginnings as a baby. This is not to say that things are better this way. Maybe GUNNERSAURUS would be happier if he could be a dinosaur at work and a human being at home. That way he could communicate with us and we could communicate with him. Instead, he only communicates via hugs and Twitter. He is unable to speak. He is a prisoner in his own body. There is only so much a T-Rex can take before life gets too much, before a sadness develops in one's eyes. And in many ways, we should have seen the downfall of GUNNERSAURUS coming. Someone once said, the higher you rise, the faster you fall. This was particularly true for GUNNERSAURUS because he is a T-Rex and they have extraordinary bone density. First, there were accusations of vanity, of success going to the dinosaur's head. There were on-pitch celebrations. There were celebrations through the sunroofs of cars. Guys wanted to be him. Zebras wanted to be with him. There were the television appearances, and subsequently, he got in with the wrong crowd. He was connected to fraud when he began hanging around with Hammerhead, a suspect in the identity theft of Iron Man. It slowly then became substance abuse when he started to spend time with Buzz B and his sister Buzzette, two known pollen fiends. The larger his entourage grew, the more salacious the rumours of misdeeds became. Every week we saw GUNNERSAURUS posing beside a new troubled soul hiding behind the cheerful face of a mascot. Except of course for the Brazil mascot Canarinho, who everyone knows is just a miserable prick no matter what way you look at it. In the end, well, the demise was pretty predictable, but it didn't make it any less dramatic.
He's as much a part of matchday as the players. GUNNERSAURUS has been a firm fixture at Arsenal for nearly 3 decades.
What about, we've got to, of course, go to really big news today, huge news, the departure of GUNNERSAURUS.
Unbelievable. I mean, all them kids, all them junior gunners and everything like that, I mean, he's part of it now. I mean, there'll be 30-year-old people, 40-year-old fans who have grown up with that dinosaur, and yeah, disappointing. I think it's poor by Arsenal, I really do.
In the saddest day for dinosaurs for over 65 million years, GUNNERSAURUS was out of work and he had reached his lowest ebb. With news making headlines all around the world and clubs like Sevilla looking to bring the dinosaur to the south of Spain, GUNNERSAURUS went to ground. It was then up to FATHERSAURUS to look deep within himself to find out how to save his son.
GUNNERSAURUS Rex became front page news around the world, and everyone was talking about it, and obviously so my phone was going crazy, and requests were coming in from everywhere, and the TalkSport one, I think I said at midday, you know, like, oh, it's so annoying, you know, we got Ozil on the bench doing nothing, being paid enough money to pay this guy's salary over, you know, a week. He gets paid what the guy earns in 10 years. Like, just pick up the guy's salary. And then literally a few hours later on, Ozil made the announcement. Now, I'm not saying he listens to that, and I'm sure he completely made that decision himself.
Last piece of news. Yesterday, GUNNERSAURUS was pictured back at the Emirates Stadium. GUNNERSAURUS has returned. He is no longer extinct.
There's a text from Michael, and frankly, he's dead right. Joe, this is a disgrace. We are 20 minutes into a sports show. There has not been a single mention from Richie of the biggest sports story of the day. GUNNERSAURUS is staying at Arsenal. Great news from a Stegosaurus fan.
And it was those comments from Stegosaurus fans that put this whole thing into perspective. If late Cretaceous era fans and late Jurassic era fans could put their differences aside for just one moment, then think about what else we can achieve. Maybe GUNNERSAURUS could help us achieve world peace. Maybe GUNNERSAURUS could fix Arsenal's defence. And this is why GUNNERSAURUS is more than just a green T-Rex who suffers from dwarfism and likes to wear Masonic jewellery. He is much more than that. GUNNERSAURUS, he is a sporting legend. He is a football icon.